April 7th, 2023, and this is the Washington Times front page. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The White House mounted a vehement defense of President Biden's decision-making in Afghanistan as the Pentagon and State Department sent classified reports to Congress detailing the failures. Joseph Clark and Stephen Diner report administration officials placed heavy blame on President Trump for setting the withdrawal into motion and on Afghanistan itself. They said the nation's military wasn't trained, its government wasn't competent, and its people were too ready to capitulate. Republican lawmakers disagreed with the summary, saying the withdrawal was a signal of weakness that set Russian President Vladimir Putin on a course to invade Ukraine. A new Department of Education rule would allow schools to bar male-born students who identify as female from girls' and women's sports over safety and fairness concerns, but not impose categorical bans on those students. Valerie Richardson reports the proposed change to Title IX student athletic eligibility rejected transgender bans and would instead require schools to ensure that sex-based limits serve important educational objectives and factor in the specific sport, students' ages, and level of competition in question. Schools would be instructed to minimize harms to students whose opportunity to participate on a male or female team consistent with their gender identity would be limited or denied. Republicans and legal analysts say Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's case against Donald Trump has opened the door to more politically motivated criminal cases. George Mason University law professor Eugene Kontorovich told our Susan Ferriccio that the charges against Trump will normalize the criminal targeting of the nation's leaders. Legal analysts worry that the indictment will politicize the judicial system. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. In the final part of his series, Sean Salai looks at the struggles facing liberal arts programs at colleges and universities. A growing number of initiatives include programs that require students to read primary sources in fiction and nonfiction, such as Shakespeare and Plato. Liberal arts advocates have long argued the programs produce well-rounded business executives, lawyers, and doctors who understand leadership principles and have strong foundations for innovative thinking. On this Easter weekend, millions of Americans will commemorate the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but many still struggle to connect the event to their daily lives. Mark Kellner reports Christian research group Lifeway Research found that 2/3 of Americans polled believe that the Bible's accounts of the physical resurrection of Jesus are completely accurate. But for the first time in the history of the survey, a majority of Americans, 53%, said the Bible contains helpful accounts of ancient myths, but is not literally true. 32% of those surveyed also said that God isn't concerned with their day-to-day decisions. And finally, behold the incredible edible Easter potato. As egg prices remain at near record highs, farmers are suggesting using potatoes as a low-priced alternative for your Easter decorating needs. Sean Salai reports Potatoes USA, a Denver-based potato farmers advocacy group, has released tips on social media for decorating potatoes for the holiday. The group recommends using a coat of hairspray to seal the color and keep the dye from bleeding into the potatoes. Potato enthusiasts say it's healthier, less breakable, and currently less expensive than using eggs. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo, wishing you and yours a safe and blessed Easter.